Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Syd Barrett's debut solo album, The Madcap Laughs. Good name, released in 1970. Barrett was the primary songwriter for Pink Floyd's first album, although he had some issues, so he didn't stay with the band and instead did two solo albums in 1970. This one is acceptable, it's not too bad. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks added to my playlist, 4 out of 13, so about a third technically. This album is not particularly good, but I wouldn't say it's absolutely terrible. It's just super unpolished and wacky. The lyrics aren't terrible, and the music is mostly pretty consistent, but there's definitely a lack of quality here that means this album is just not super interesting overall. Pink Floyd's early albums also have this problem. There's just too much psychedelic noodling and not enough sort of good choruses or verses or good things. Still, there are a few tracks here that are decent, and most of the tracks here aren't so bad that they hurt to listen to. They're just overall not particularly interesting. Especially towards the end of the album, the songs kind of just become unedited takes of whatever Barrett was playing on guitar or piano or whatever. The flow is fine, but it doesn't really do much. The decent songs are spread out enough that you don't really feel the album has gotten not good until the very end, which is nice, although having better songs would be nicer. Still, the opener for side 2, Octopus, is definitely not bad, and if you're willing to sit through the first couple of songs, you probably wouldn't mind finishing the album, as it's pretty much the same psychedelic alt-rock style throughout the whole thing. So not that bad, but definitely not good. There's only one single released before the album, the opening to side 2, Octopus, which is also my favorite here. It's pretty much the only one that might be good. None of these songs were popular at the time, and it's not surprising that that was the single release. It's the only one that's maybe good. Even then, it's probably just decent. As the only Syd Barrett album I've heard so far, and he has 2, so we'll rank both of them, it takes the only spot in the rankings, the Madcap Laughs. I thought about comparing his albums to Pink Floyd's rankings, but I think that's a little unfair to Syd. He basically only worked on the first album with maybe a song or two on their second, so... But needless to say, I think this album isn't quite as good as Pink Floyd's first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. It may be a bit better than their second album, A Saucer Full of Secrets, but in any case, putting it in the Pink Floyd rankings, it would just rank towards the bottom, so not really very interesting there. Additionally, this album does not take my top spot from 1970. That stays with the Beatles' 1970 album Let It Be, which is definitely a lot better than the Madcap Laughs in pretty much every way. So yeah, definitely keeps it there. Thank you for watching. Next up will be the Beatles' 1965 album Rubber Soul. We're in a 60s mood. This is their first really great album, and I like it a lot, so I'm pretty excited to review it. Stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.